This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on March the 12th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got some great information for you tonight. So let's go ahead and jump on Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel, episode 1856. Let's jump in here. Hi, Debbie BS. Glad you could join us. Thank you so much for your chat, and if more people could chat, the better. All right, let me click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino, Doug in Exile, Glenn Beck, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have a bunch of shout-outs to give to Topher Curry, just started following my channel. Merlin to you, just started following my channel. Essa Walk, just started following my channel. Art by Deli, just started following my channel. Airy Eyes, Aaron I 51, thank you. Eyes 51 just started following my channel. T Harris just started following my channel. Jeff V10 just started following my channel. And Ness Hub just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1854, and Debbie BS also reposted my episode 1855. Debbie BS commented on my episode 1854. Cottonball 31 commented on my episode 1855. Deb Brandt commented on my extra 537C. Debbie BS commented on my extra 538A. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 538B. 77 Karen Main, Esther Jurasic, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 638C. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Okay, and if you could give my video a thumbs up, right here's the little icon for the thumbs up. If you could scroll down here and give it to me, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, I'm going to mention this, folks, now, and I'll try to remember to mention it at the end of the video for people that tuned in late. But Saturday is going to be a very busy day for me. My kids are in Taekwondo. They have a test coming up Saturday, which is going to take most of the early afternoon, and then we're heading out to Arkansas. So we won't get into Arkansas till about 10 or 11 o'clock Saturday. Now, I will do my daily news wrap-up, but I won't have time to do my daily news update. I'll be on the road and at the kids' tests in Taekwondo. So Simeon, my 14-year-old, will be going for his black belt. So that'll be a really, really good thing. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, let's get into Dan Bongino. CNN Does It Again, episode 2471. Let's check this out.
Okay, so sarcasm aside for a moment, a big expose yesterday by one of these. You did the Khomeini one too? Okay, good. Well, hold that for a second. Big expose. I say that laughingly, that the Department of War, that, by the way, has billions in money for weapons, hundreds of billions of dollars for weapons to keep our country safe, to support our fighting men and women, that they spent, millions on steak and lobster. Now, obviously, if it was costing millions of dollars, it's fairly obvious that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was not eating the steak and lobster himself. Now, dumb shits in the media who don't understand how kcals work, calories, and intake and outtake, came out, of course, and they were like, hey, man, that's Pete. What an arrogant little SOB he is. Justin, can you believe he ate $15 million in steak and lobster? Now, we know Pete very well. It's like, hey, look at who I know. Who gives a shit who I know? I'm just telling you, I know. Why do I tell you I know Pete? Not because I want to look like a big shot, because I've seen Pete eat quite a bit. Matter of fact, when I was in D.C., one of the first meetings I had after hours, I didn't do a lot of them, was with Pete and Judge Janine and others. We had a dinner. And I saw Pete eat. And I assure you, Pete did not eat $15 million in steak. Actually, I only saw him kind of nibble at his plate a little bit. He was sharing the food with his wife, Jen. So Pete is not like some big 400-pound monster who could consume $15 million in steak. It was fairly obvious, if you're not a liberal media douche canoe, that this was actually bought for our war fighters out there who occasionally, when they're not eating shitty cardboard MREs, all for us, but they don't have to do this. They don't have this volunteer workforce, right? Hey, I'm going to go die for my fellow American overseas and eat shitty food all day. It's not something a lot of people volunteer for. So I tend to put these people on a pedestal and tend to think very little of people who attack them. That's just me, okay? So they decided that they were going to re-up a food contract, nothing unusual, and purchase some steak and lobster for our heroes. Here is Paul Begala, one of the dumbest mother on television ever. This guy is spent decades on the air saying really stupid shit. Here he is on CNN, implying somehow that the steak and the lobster is for Pete, who, again, I'm not sure could consume that much steak and lobster. He's a very thin guy. I'm not kidding, folks. This happened. Check this out.
Spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steak, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all for himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No. Do you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster? His troops.
Oh, really? The troops?
Has steak and lobster. Not just steak and lobster. All right, damn near decent. Go to war.
Oh
theater.
my God!
Troops who are going to war.
Oh my God!
Great meal. You know that.
That lobster. You are so full of it.
Over this.
You are
You're going to
so
get killed
full
over
of
this. Internet, do something.
I had to double it. I had to run it back.
Well, the internet did something. Thank you to the great Scott Jennings on CNN for constantly humiliating their stupid hosts and guests. How does this guy remain employed? And I mean that, by the way, as the greatest of compliments. Scott Jennings is a freaking moron. Justin just popped out of studio. He goes, $15 million in steak and lobster. One, that's a lot of money compared to the Pentagon employee workforce and we have. That's not even like, that's like a drop in the bucket, okay? $15 million for steak and lobster for our troops. Justin's like, Begala doesn't know he didn't, like, you go burgers, eat this burger, and we won't charge you. It's free. You ever seen that? And the burger's like, I don't know, it's like a 3, 4, 5 pound burger, so like 10-pound burger. And the guy spends like 5 hours. That burger, that whole burger probably costs, even with the Joe Biden inflation, probably costs $100, maybe $150 if you're lucky. You would have to eat one of those burgers like every minute. We need to get Mara Gay in here to do math, to wind up equaling anywhere close to $15, $20 million of Pete Hegseth consuming steak by himself.
Get
this
in
kind
my
of
belly.
That's how big you'd have to be. They eat that shit. And even he couldn't do it. The fat dude from Austin Powers, they couldn't do it. There is no freaking way. This is fairly obvious. There is no cable network or podcast full of sane people on planet Earth where that comment would be allowed to stand. So, internet, do your thing. I'm going to play this again. I saw this on Don Luker's Twitter feed. It was pulled off TikTok. Here is one of our soldiers. Thanks to the guy eating the steak and lobster in this. The table full of guys who are going to go off into war theaters and put their asses on the line for us. I can't say enough to our veterans, our active duty folks, the families of veterans who are serving you too, from the Dan Bongino show. Everybody here. Thank you. From the bottom of my sometimes broken heart, you are the greatest part of this country. We love you on this show. I don't give a flying fuck if you eat steak and eggs for breakfast, steak on steak for lunch to prepare yourself for steak at night, ribeye steak at night. I don't even want you eating sirloin. It's too cheap. I want you eating ribeye, porterhouse. Fuck, I want you eating a tomahawk once in a while. I want a big-ass tomahawk with a chef. Put those flags in the chat. Flags in the chat. In honor of our great, I'm not in the middle. I love you guys. And ladies out there, eat steak every day. Look at our chat supporting you guys. Do you ever see that many American flags in a chat before? The Bongino Show loves you guys. You have a special place in all of our hearts here. Morning steak, evening steak, afternoon steak. Fuck, I want a nighttime steak too. Sorry about the language. I'm just like in a mood today. You should have a steak before bed too. Play that guy again. Here's the guy on TikTok, by the way. I love this guy. He's like, I'm going to double up and go back for more. I want you to triple up. After you double up and go get your other lobster tail and steak, I want you to go back. I want you to do whatever you need to do. Take a food nap, have a food baby, and then go back and get another steak and lobster tail. Keep it up in the chat while this plays again. I love this guy. Check this guy out.
Brothers Defect has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster? All right, damn near decent. How's yours? I'm ready for war. We're going to war. I might have to double it. I had to run it back.
Sir, whoever you are, look at that chat. Still going. Run it back again. Run it back a third time. Let me tell you a little something, okay? I was not in the military. I can't say it enough because it's the greatest regret of my life because I love and adore people who serve for me. I live in this great, prosperous, free country because I'm not on the front lines of combat. There are other people out there protecting this place. You think people wouldn't invade the United States of America tomorrow and steal all our shit if they could? Why don't they do it? The answer is because Marines, Air Force, soldiers, and our men and women in the Navy and in our Coast Guard would kill them. That is why. That is why that is why you can sit safe and secure in your bed every night. Yes, it's the cops too locally, but nobody invades us because they wouldn't even dare. Because of brave men and women who's like, I will kill you if you come in our house called the United States. And you know what they eat? For those out there in the liberal ecosystem who are in my chat, you're the only ones not posting American flags in the chat right now, as we probably break it for Rumble and show them like bugs they can't find on any other show, because this is the biggest one. The liberal D-bags in the chat. Do you guys know what MREs are? MREs are these like meal packs that the military folks have been taking them out in the field forever. Now, the MRE technology has gotten better. I was not in the military. However, I have had, even though MREs have gotten better, I have had the unfortunate pleasure of having to live off MREs for maybe a day or a day and a half. That was it. I got stuck one time in my prior job on a foreign advance when I was on the president's detail in Accra, Ghana. The car plane broke down. I think it was an old C5. We used to fly backwards upstairs, right? We get stuck there, and we're there, and we ran out of food. We had some water and some MREs. I'd eat MREs occasionally, but I never had to eat them over a course of like a day and a half. So what we did was sit in this hangar in the presidential limos because the cars were on the plane, and all we could do was eat MREs. Let me tell you something. When you're hungry, you'll eat MREs. They're not horrible, but let me tell you something. They're not great either. You start trading people stuff. I'll take that for this and all this other stuff. I wasn't even in the military. This was one day of my life. Here's Dan Bongino's sacrifice. Here it is. Can't see it because it wasn't there. I didn't have to sacrifice anything. One freaking day. I fasted for a day, okay? No big deal. Here's their sacrifice. These guys are eating this shit every day. Every day. You know what a hot meal means to a guy in some hot zone theater? We could be killed walking out of his hooch at night. Do you have any idea what it means to him to eat steak and lobster? This is like the heavens have opened up and beautiful vistas appear. But steak and lobster, they've been eating graham crackers and shitty eggs out of an MRE that was probably made 15 years ago. Have you ever seen a story blow up more in the face of dipshits like Paul D. Bagala? Some of you will get that. To all the war fighters out there, again, Secretary of War, I suggest you do this. Pete don't need any leadership training from me. I would suggest a big, huge, massive double-barrel middle finger. And in the next budget, you make steak and lobster tails mandatory like 2 or 3 times a month for everyone. At least. Fly it out to the freaking war zone and have them eating it in hooches on a barbecue. So tired of these mother trying to control that. No, I'm sorry, folks. I just like, I told you, man, like my family was never the same. My mother lost her older brother in Vietnam, my uncle. I never met him because he died before I was born. I was born in 1974. My grandmother was never the same. My grandmother was never, ever the same. His name was Greg Ambrose. When you go to that Vietnam War Memorial, you see his name there. I think it's 42 years, but I've seen it probably 15, 20 times. My grandmother was never the same. She died, Eileen Sadler. She died unbelievably depressed over this. I don't even like talking about it because that was always a thing. Don't mention Greg around grandma. Don't mention Greg. He was...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And yes, he did get a little bit fired up, didn't he? But I wanted to go ahead and let you hear this part of it to give you an understanding why he was fired up. Anybody that picks on service members, he doesn't like. All right, let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dan Bongino. This video I shared with you. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. I'm doing a little chatting there with Debbie BS. Okay, let's see what Doug in Exile has to say about Gavin Newsom is done. Well, maybe, maybe not. He is from California, and they're just stupid out there, so we'll see.
Trump's FCC director, Brendan Carr, just exposed Gavin Newsom. I believe this will end his race, and there's already calls claiming that his race for the presidency in 2028 is over. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Part of why we're happy is anytime Gavin Newsom gets slammed. What happened? He had over 94,000 dead people getting federal benefits. That is fraud, and hopefully he'll get some jail time. Maybe he'll get some new hair gel.
First off, can you explain for us what the Lifeline program is and then the fraud that you're uncovering? Because I think there's something like close to 100,000 dead people in California that are getting access to this Lifeline program. So what is this? And I think this is a major thing that fits together with the president's directive to the vice president.
Yeah, either California has a very serious zombie problem, or there's a significant amount of fraud going on. So
I haven't seen any zombies.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's fraud.
I've been to California. I've seen zombies.
The Lifeline program is a federal program that you pay for. It is effectively an assessment that appears on your monthly telephone bill. We collect that money, and it goes to do a lot of things. But one of the things it does is to provide subsidies for phone or internet service for low-income households. Well, turns out over the years it has been very attractive to fraudsters. And the FCC's Inspector General did a report, an advisory, and found that in California alone, over 94,000 dead people were signed up for and getting Lifeline. And California itself was in charge of vetting to see who's eligible for Lifeline or not. So we've done a couple of things. One,
Gavin Newsom really likes to give taxpayer benefits to dead people.
Federal taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
So we've now revoked California's authority to conduct its own vetting. We now make California join almost every other state to go through a federal vetting process for Lifeline. And we're putting in place a very simple two-part test.
Gavin Newsom's constituency are zombies. That's the main thing. But wait, his trouble's only just starting. It's worse. Here's CBS News. Remember, this is enemy territory. Democrats at CBS News, now under Barry Weiss. We visited ground zero for hospice fraud. Los Angeles, California. CBS News now analysis of records for every hospice operating in Los Angeles County finds indications of fraud are growing. So this is what they mean by they were going to nail Gavin Newsom on what they already nailed Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar for. Basically, Gavin Newsom is a male Ilhan Omar. He's Ilhan Omar without the hijab. At age 69, Lynn Iani is a pickleball whiz, zipping from drinks to drives energetically. When she suffered an injury on the court 2 years ago, she sought physical therapy and was surprised to learn her Medicare insurance wouldn't cover it. You guys already know what I'm going to say about Medicare. Call my buddies at Chapter. She was, according to Medicare records, dying in hospice, though she was playing pickleball. They said, "You're in hospice." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" Yanni said, "Are you kidding me? Do I look like I'm in hospice?" Yanni's Medicare number had been stolen and used by a company to fraudulently enroll her in hospice, specialized compassionate care for terminal patients nearing the end of their lives. It was another example of fraud in the hospice industry, long a nationwide problem, but her case arose well after officials had promised to stamp it out in California, Gavin Newsom, where the problem has been especially acute. This is the beginning of the exposure of Gavin Newsom, guys. Right here in Exile, we've been talking about it. The other shoe to drop in Minnesota, Trump warned. He said it was going to be California. And Elon Musk and Trump have said that California's fraud is much worse than in Minnesota. Legendary fraud. How's Gavin Newsom doing on these blue-collar wages? It's falling in California, but they're rising nationally under Trump. Trump just healed America of its Joe Biden problem as of this week. In just 1 year under President Trump, blue-collar workers have made up all the wages they lost under Biden. More progress, more to come. Blue-collar wages have finally recovered from Biden. You can see them here, red under Trump, blue down under Biden. More good financial news. Reluctantly reported by financials, but reported here on Fox. New data shows core inflation remains at its lowest in 5 years, proving yet again that President Trump has tamed Biden's inflation crisis. So not just the jobs, but the inflation.
Core, 0.2% to the upside as expected, 2.5% year over year as expected.
That means wages are rising, guys, to heal what Biden did to this country. Here's Caroline Levitt's post. ICE, Houston arrests 414 illegal alien child predators in Trump's first year back, nearly double Biden's final year total. So your Democrat friends that say that they're against Trump because he's some kind of a predator, they were actually voting for the true cause of predation was Joe Biden, the 350,000 got-away children who are victims. And the people that said they cared about victims under Epstein, fake news. Those are all, the youngest victims are like 25 years old now. Active victims today. ICE in Houston just busted 414 illegals in child trafficking. That is resources that we want to Pam Bondi to protect from being distracted on Epstein. And I've been saying this over and over again. Epstein, following that whole trail, is evil. And everyone thought they were doing good. I know that everyone's well-intended, but you don't take resources off of saving active victims today. Just that 414 busts that they just now got. That's more predator victims that were victimized under all of Epstein's 20 years. Just let that sink in. They just now reversed that amount of evil in 1 year under Trump. Wait, there's more. Gavin Newsom's wife, Jennifer Seibel Newsom, has been caught paying herself up to 1/3 of her nonprofit's entire income every year, pushing woke, transgender, and sex films on children, raking up to $300,000 a year annually. That's the same thing, I guess. Newsom's Board of Ed recommended Seibel Newsom's films in controversial health education guidance in 2019. Newsom leaned on her powerful lobby and his education board to push preachy flicks about toxic masculinity into classrooms. That grievance was later adopted by the State of Education Department, now exposed and being investigated for fraud. What about Gavin Newsom for president? Let's take a look at this. I told you guys he could be on the outs. Here's prediction news. Again, this is another betting prediction election. New Marco Rubio has just passed J.D. Vance and Gavin Newsom in the 2028 presidential election odds. We're still supporting J.D. Vance, but I'm wide open to Marco Rubio too. Apparently, a whole lot of you are still. Here's J.D. Vance is at 18%. He is the white line across the top, so he was always the favorite. And he kind of goes down. Look, this is Marco Rubio has been getting some great TV for his work around the world. He's just way more on camera than J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is the vice president. Vice presidents are always famously behind the scenes. So he's not going to get as much good media as Rubio, and it's really working to Rubio's benefit. Gavin Newsom, stuck at 18%, is now tied with J.D. Vance. Gavin Newsom is that middle blue line you'll see. And Marco Rubio was way under him, and now he just came up and just crossed here on the right, J.D. Vance. But Gavin Newsom, don't even sweat it, guys. I know that you're threatened. I know that we're terrified of this prospect. Don't worry. This is according to the Washington Examiner. Gavin Newsom will not be the Democratic nominee in 2028, according to the Washington Examiner. More great news, which is bad news for Gavin Newsom. We approve. This is Carl DeMaio. He's a representative in California. Breaking Gavin Newsom caught using $19 million in taxpayer funds to campaign for president. That's illegal. California faces a massive budget deficit, and we found the contract for propaganda PR. Watch this.
State Assemblymember Carl DeMaio here to reveal what Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to do with your tax dollars. This is the state budget. Billions of dollars in the red, deficits, and they're cutting services to needy people in the state of California. This is Governor Gavin Newsom's proposed $19 million PR campaign. Taxpayer money spent across the country on political ads, trying to convince everyone that California isn't a shithole, that we don't have the highest unemployment, that we don't have the highest cost of living, that our schools are not bad, that our roads aren't crap, and that we don't have a homelessness problem. No, everything is wonderful here in California. $19 million, Gavin. Not enough. Not enough to sell the lie that you're trying to peddle as part of your presidential campaign. Give the money back to the people. Stop with your PR campaigns. And by the way, while you're at it, restore some of the services through efficiencies.
By the way, we saw those potholes when we ran the LA Marathon on Sunday. We noticed the road conditions going right through Hollywood, the sweet spot where you think all the money would be put. The roads were atrocious. Giant potholes, giant fissures. Runners were tripping over potholes. By the way, I saw a couple homeless people too. But they were kind of nice. Here's more. Breaking. California is being required to return over $1 billion in federal health care funds spent on services for undocumented migrants, according to federal audits. Do you firmly support this? Let's watch this one.
Battle brewing in California. The Trump administration says the state owes the federal government more than $1 billion for health care given to illegal immigrants. William Lajeunesse has a story from LA. Hi, William.
Well, Dana, there are two stories here, right? One is how rising costs have forced blue states to roll back health care for those without legal status. The other is the White House crackdown on eligibility. If states can't confirm those getting care are U.S. citizens, they have to pay the feds back.
We are auditing aggressively, and we don't like what we see.
In March, the Trump administration began auditing states that provide illegal immigrants with routine health care paid for by American taxpayers. Their findings, 7 states and the District of Columbia owe nearly $1.4 billion for using federal, not state money for immigrant care. Topping the list, California, followed
That's going to be
by New York and Illinois.
Followed by New York and Illinois, the 3 biggest crime-ridden Democrat states in the union. But Gavin Newsom, number 1 with $1.4 billion, guys. Wait. Gets even better. Here's Doug Burgum. Remember, he ran against President Trump and he put him in the administration. Doug Burgum slams Gavin Newsom for blaming Trump for California's gas prices. We'll get to the article here. Doug Burgum slams Gavin Newsom for blaming Trump for gas prices. Secretary of Energy Doug Burgum responds to allegations made by California Governor Gavin Newsom, who blamed none other than President Trump for the state's rising gas prices, which in some parts have risen to $8 a gallon. Now, this is over the war, guys, and don't be fooled about the gas prices. Absolute sham. I'm just going to wrap it up for you really quick right now. California is sitting on the biggest oil field in the world. We would not need anything from Iran. We could control everything from the California coast, the world's oil, instead of running it through the Straits of Hormuz with Iran. But we have, through Gavin Newsom and the environmentalist cult, and that's what it is, it's a cult, they've stopped drilling. No oil rigs, no drilling. Very expensive to refine in California. No nuclear power in California. Nothing new being built in California. That's the true cause of $8 a gallon. A ton of it is taxes, California regulations against environmental emissions and all that. And their special mixture that California demands that all of them use that's not able to be used in other states. So this whole thing could be solved with drill, baby, drill. What do you guys think? Is Gavin Newsom going to have a shot in 2028, or do you see another Democrat coming on and taking that baton for president? Let me know what you think in the comments. I love hearing from you guys in the comments. I have the best, chatty, awesome, kind audience. You guys say this about each other all the time. Check in.
Okay, let me go ahead and pause it there. This does come from Doug in Exile. I'm subscribed to his channel here on YouTube. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And, you know, Gavin Newsom, who do the Democrats have? He might actually be the nominee. Because, you know, Democrats are stupid. They're idiots. He's got a nice haircut. Yeah, he dresses nice. He definitely does not know how to run a government office. I mean, he's run California into the ground, but the Democrats don't give a shit about that as long as he looks good, okay? And he talks nice. Okay, that's all they care about. His policies don't mean shit to a Democrat. Okay, so he may very well be the Democrat nominee. And unless they get the fraud under control, the voting fraud, election fraud, he may be president. That's how important this Save America Act is. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Glenn Beck has to say about the media only told you half the story about the Iranian women's soccer team. Okay, well, let's check this out and see the
and
rest
roll
of the
the
story.
footage of this, the hotel corridor in Sydney, Australia. It was late at night. The fluorescent lights are humming overhead, the kind of lights that make everything pale and unreal. 5 young women, girls who have spent their lives training for the privilege of representing their country. In that moment, they understood something their coaches and their government handles also understood. Once they stepped outside that door, they may never see home again. And yet they walked quietly, carefully, down a hallway, down a flight of stairs into a future that did not exist. What we know now is Australian police helped them slip away from the officials assigned to monitor them, and within hours, the players requested asylum. 5 girls chose a life of uncertainty over the certainty of control. You know, it's a different world. We as Americans, we just don't get it. We just don't get it. There are many countries like this, but Iran is one of them, where sports are never just sports. And as much as the left has tried to do that to our sports, I think Americans are tired of it. Here, if a football player takes a knee on our national anthem, they just become more famous and rich, okay? That's not oppression. But we try to make it into oppression. But in places where real oppression lives, in Iran, every athlete who travels abroad represents the state of Iran. They are monitored, they are guided, they are reminded constantly that their behavior reflects on the regime, and they're also constantly reminded, you have family back at home, so be careful. The women carry even a heavier burden. Every public appearance is all about conforming to strict rules about dress, conduct, speech. Careers depend on obedience, and your family is back at home. Which brings me to the part of the story where the headlines barely even mention. Several of the teammates returned home. Those girls now live under a cloud they didn't create. And the authorities are going to ask them questions. Security services are going to conduct interviews that might last hours or days. None of them sang the national anthem. So they're all traitors to the regime. Sources say now that in Iran, families find themselves under quiet surveillance. Reports now speculate that some family members may have already been arrested, detained, or questioned. We don't know. But authoritarian systems protect themselves through pressure, and that pressure spreads outward from any act of defiance. One athlete leaves, the regime has to remind everyone else there's a cost. And yet, something important is happening inside Iran right now. For years, the Islamic Republic maintained control through that fear, and it was immovable. There were consequences that were way too severe, the risk too great. But the foundation is weakening. Women are refusing the hijab. Students are marching through the universities. Workers are striking in oil fields and factories. And now athletes, people chosen to represent the nation itself, decide freedom is worth more than the career they were given. And every single act on its own, but together they begin to form a pattern. Something is happening in the world. And history moves quietly at first. A few people step outside of the lines, but everybody else is watching carefully. And then the realization spread that the walls surrounding them might not be so permanent after all. It might look insignificant from a distance, but in Iran, it was noticed. Young girls all across the country will hear about it for decades. They'll understand exactly what those players risked and exactly why they did it. And somewhere, maybe, among the next generation of women, they'll decide that life under the Islamic Republic is no longer the only future available. And that is how real change begins. I hope for the women in Iran and all other repressed countries, I hope they see this example. More, I really hope those who claim to be for the rights of women and homosexuals begin to see the hypocrisy of their own actions. How can you claim to be against the repression of women and not celebrate what's happening in Iran and hold these women up as the lionesses that they are? The left is just continuing to expose themselves as much as they did during the State of the Union. They don't care about the people or individuals. They really care about the great Satan. We are the world's oppressor to them with our values and our capitalism. Meanwhile, the states of Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran are the oppressed and we're the oppressor. That's all they see. Collectivism at its absolute worst. It's about to fail. The walls are coming down.
All right. I like the information Glenn Beck puts out. I mean, he is on point, definitely. This video does come from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right. Deb Brandt. Okay, our Gruber is piddly weak. Some games, Taiwan fans can't wave flags or wear shirts displaying that. Huh. China made claims, not Taiwan, Chinese Taipei. Thank you, Deb Brandt, for that bit of information. Okay, let's jump down here. Let me say this again here. I mentioned this at the beginning of my video, but I've got more people watching now. This weekend, Saturday specifically, it's going to be a very busy day for me, okay? My kids, I got 5 kids in Taekwondo. They have a test coming up on Saturday. My oldest son, Simeon, 14, he's going for his black belt in Taekwondo. So that'll last pretty much the morning and up until like mid-afternoon, and then we're going to take off for Arkansas. So I'm telling you this because I will not be having a daily news wrap-up or daily news update on Saturday, but I will have my daily news wrap-up, and that'll probably be, by the time we get to Arkansas, it's about an 9-hour drive. It'll probably be about 11 p.m. before I get that started. So with that being said, I just want to let you know that that's happening, and just to give you a heads up, okay? All right, let's get back here and see what we got from Wendy Bell Radio. Can the rest of the Senate please have a stroke? Oops, I think she's referring to how John Fetterman has actually got some common sense. Even a lot more common sense than some Republicans. But let's take a listen and see what she has to say.
Should not be complicated. And yet it seems everywhere I look in this world, it's like a bridge too far for the vast majority of people. It's super disenchanting. I'm extraordinarily off-put by people who pretend to be something or that they're going to do something and then they don't. And I think I'm super frustrated watching the ineffectiveness of a very lazy bunch of people in the United States Senate. And you know what? I don't want to hear any of these people squawk to me about how hard they work. I don't want to hear about it. You guys do not have to make payroll. You're not paying taxes. You're not paying in terms of employment, paying for an employee's whatever, workman's comp, unemployment, insurance, all of this. You go, you sit in a chair, right? You squawk for a few minutes, and then you leave. Now, that's probably a very unfair assessment of what the United States Senate does, but it doesn't seem too far off, does it? You got how many different bills sitting on the floor of the Senate to die? Because nobody there is moving. There is no action. And I'm so freaking tired of it. I'm so tired that Tim Walz has fired absolutely nobody in the state of Minnesota, even though we know he is known credibly for the better part of 6 years about the fraud and the waste and the abuse and all of the scams that cost not just Minnesotans, but all of us, because those are federal tax dollars that were swindled. There's been no change. Nobody's been penalized. Nobody's been forced to give any of the money back. What are we doing? What are we doing? Honest to God. It's this exercise in running through oatmeal, right? You're on a treadmill, except you can't get it to go faster than like 1.1. We have a president who's at lightning speed. He's into another dimension. He's now sped out of where we are, and he's in another universe getting stuff done. And we look back at the people who allegedly are supposed to be his partners in making sure that we, the people, have our needs met, that we are safe, that we are prosperous, that we are healthy, that our children are well educated, and we get nothing. And I'm tired of it. I'm freaking tired of it. You guys think about all the stories that have been memory hold, right? We went over a couple of them the other day. Everything from the outrage over the ballroom. Oh, it's all about one man's ego, right? Donald Trump's $400 million ballroom at the White House that's being independently paid for by friends of his and other people. Who cares? Who cares who pays for it? You're not paying for it, right? And then you see Barack Obama's hideous library, that block of doom, the prison cell in Chicago. That's like over $650 million already. And it's not even close to being done, although it's going to open sometime soon. Okay, who wants to walk into that thing, right? Nancy Guthrie, she evaporated. She's gone. Have no idea what happened to that story. But, well, I guess we spent 5 weeks investigating it, millions of dollars. Didn't really get very far, so okay, bye-bye. It's the same story. Right? Take out the different players, put in a new object, and then spin your wheels for a period of time, look like you're doing something, come to the conclusion that, well, it's kind of too big and we really don't know anyway, so let's just move on. Who wants a beer? Phil? Right? That's where we are. And I think my ire with this comes from sitting down here, logging onto my computer, and I've got my MacBook sitting in front of me, my Apple laptop, right? And then over here, I've got a Dell or whatever it is a desktop here in the studio. And like everybody else, Dells have what? MSN is the homepage that comes up that populates only liberal news. And this was the main story on the feed that came up. I don't choose these things. It's not my preferences. It's what people with Dells and MSN pop up see, right? Here's the story. Epstein death probe shaken by new evidence. I was like, really? What kind of new evidence? Guy's been dead since 2019. If you believe, of course, he died, right? We'll just go along and say that he did. Well, what kind of new evidence could there possibly be? Haven't we beaten this horse? Haven't we absolutely beaten the piñata to death? No, apparently not. Ready? Fresh disclosures and investigative reporting are reigniting scrutiny over Jeffrey Epstein's 2019 jail death, exposing discrepancies in official accounts and gaps in past investigations. Newly revealed FBI video logs, contested guard testimony, and delayed property searches are prompting calls for renewed probes. Lawmakers and advocates say the findings raise serious questions about evidence handling, transparency, and possible misconduct. You don't freaking say. Oh my God. Wow. What? 7 years later, and they're like, I don't know. Some about this doesn't feel right. Was it the white sale that Jeffrey Epstein had in his jail cell where he could choose from 37 different kinds of sheets to hang himself with, right? Was that part of it? No, not at all. You ready? MS Now's Ari Melber dissected newly released DOJ files. Why are they newly released? Because we have to? Nobody else looked at these? Revealing that FBI video logs recorded a flash of orange ascending stairs towards Epstein's tier at 10:39 p.m. An inmate in prison uniform. The DOJ's later review altered this to suggest someone carrying linen, replacing observation with conjecture. The discrepancy raises questions about whether critical evidence was omitted, mishandled, or intentionally downplayed in official reports. Get out! Really? This is bombshell. It's like, okay, now do George Floyd. I'll wait, right? Because if we're going to have an honest conversation about anything in this country, we have to identify, why is it taking 7 years for this stuff to come out? Wait, it gets better. The guards' actions and unexplained deposits. Have you guys heard about this? Because I hadn't. Ready? FBI records suggest guard Tova Noel may have been the figure in the flash of orange footage, though she denies giving inmates linen or being near Epstein's cell at that time, which probably means it wasn't her. Noel's internet history searches for Epstein minutes before his body was found, which she disputes, and DOJ files reveal $5,000 deposited into her account shortly before his death. Guys, it's been 7 years. You're just coming up with this now? Really? These factors, combined with her alleged lapses in required checks. Yeah, I just, I fell asleep. I was so tired. Really? See, these fresh new details, right? They're as ridiculous as every other story out there that isn't. Every other thing you and I are supposed to be chasing our tails around. And yet, you know what happens is you and I are like, what? Did you hear about blah, blah, blah? 1, nothing changes. 2, no one is held accountable. And 3, the behavior continues. I'm done. Moments before we came out on set today, or came on the air today, a cute little video crossed my Twitter feed. And it was the sweetest video. I've since reposted it on X, Bell PGH. And it's very simple, because all of this is very simple. It's a bunch of people sitting in folding chairs in a room as dogs that are up for adoption are let off leash to run down an aisle between them and select their forever owner. And I don't know who's happier, the dogs or the human beings they choose. Everyone cries. It's not complicated. Do the right thing. Do your job. Do what you say to the American people you're going to do, or get the hell out. Signed, America. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, you guys are such therapy for me. I love it. Remember when Donald Trump said Cuba was next? Well, apparently the Cubans were listening. And they're like, ring! Hello, is this Mr. Trump? Mr. President. Yeah. Can you help us out? Very interesting developments next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Alrighty, let's get this up here and see what that's all about.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. So over here on my computer, as MSN is collating all of these stories about new developments in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Come on. That's the biggest rabbit hole trap of death. That is where nothing goes to move. That is where innuendo and rumor run roughshod over the truth because you can't handle that truth. No, the people who are connected to them couldn't handle you knowing the truth, and we all know that. Meantime, we have this president who did yesterday, and we're going to hear from him coming up in the next half hour. The president on the tarmac on his way back from Kentucky, where he held a rally, a good old-fashioned Trump rally in favor of the guy he wants to trounce, Thomas Massie. Had choice words for him too. But the president is full throttle. He is full steam ahead. He knows exactly what's going on in Iran. It's necessary. We've got to excise the cancer, make sure it's got no cells that could possibly regrow. John Fetterman agrees with that. You're going to hear him shock the liver out of these news babes over on CNN. It's brilliant. But this is what caught my eye this morning. Cubans make shocking plea to Trump. This guy isn't just making America great again. That's not just his view. It's about everybody coming along for the ride and other countries assessing how long are we willing to live in these conditions with rulers, not leaders, but rulers who have stolen so much from us. Well, I think Cuba has gotten to the end of its rope. The story from townhall.com, Cubans asking President Trump to give its government the Venezuela treatment after living under brutal authoritarian oppression for decades. Literally, everybody has Donald Trump as the new Messiah, except Democrats, who want you to believe that everything he does sucks. Anti-communist activists in the country, Cuba, were given hope after President Trump ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro last year. The president has suggested taking similar action in Cuba. And the New York Post, in fact, spoke with several Cubans who wish to see the U.S. intervene against the regime. The capture of former Venezuelan strongman President Nicolas Maduro in a U.S. military special op earlier this year had two effects on Cuba. It cut off the main supplier of oil to the nation and gave dissidents against the communist Cuban government led by President Miguel Diaz-Canel hope. Activist Jose, whatever. So they go into this thing saying, hey, I've gotten all these people who are talking here, top people who are talking about, can we get President Trump to step in and do what he did in Venezuela for us here in Cuba? How is it possible that people in third world countries that have been reduced to literally third world countries, they don't have access to medicine? We don't have access to money or to food or to gas or to basic things that you and I demand as civilized people in America. How is it that they all see with clarity what this president is doing, and yet the Democrats in the United States of America don't? Or do they? But they would be toppled if President Trump got his way. President Trump has commented on the situation in Cuba multiple times. Recently said the regime is at the end of the line and that Havana is negotiating with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He also floated the idea of a friendly takeover of the country. He's doing now to Cuba exactly what he did to Canada. Well, we can make you our 51st state. You might enjoy the benefits of being part of our Golden Dome because it's going to be brilliant. Nobody's going to be able to fiddle with you. And oh, by the way, we're going to have control of all of the shipping and also of all of the oil. Now, our goal is not to starve you, but it is a fantastic slice of leverage, if you will. So who wants to play? Thing I like about Trump, he's like, look, I'm not here to tell you who your leader should be. We're not about regime change in terms of installing a new government for any of these countries. It has to be done the right way. It has to be done the way of the people. But it also has to be in a way in which this administration could keep tabs on what's going. He wants to see Ukraine rebuilt. He wants to see Gaza. He wants to see the Gaza Strip be something out of a movie-scape, a lush oasis that invites tourists from around the world. He sees people golfing and enjoying safety and security without worrying what nutcases around the corner waiting to shoot them because they said the wrong thing in Syria. It is so bad in other places. And this president and the people in those other places get it. But the Democrats want you chasing your tail. They want you to believe that the SAFE Act is a threat to democracy, that there's no way it can be done, that this president is a king and a tyrant, that all he cares about is himself, right? All of this jazz is so tiresome. And you know what? We deserve better. We are smarter than these people treat us. And it pisses me off. And I know I'm not alone. So the Cuban people, hey, Mr. President, can we do like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Can you be our phone-a-friend? If everything else goes to pot, can we phone you? Would you take our call? Because you know what the answer would be, of course, an unequivocal yes. Joe Biden spent 40% of his presidency on vacation. The other 60% largely kept out of view. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, the very real danger, as President Trump says, this Operation Epic Fury is nearing completion, is this threat of who are these goons, these single military age goons who came into this country under Joe Biden? Well, some of them are Iranian sleeper cells, and they're ready to get their, clone trooper chips activated, called to duty. President Trump says he's on it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, great information there. I'm going to go ahead and move on here. And I will share the rest of this video in my daily news wrap-up. Let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I want to share some information with you here from Rumble Wallet.
They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever.
Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Designed for patriots who stand tall, this cap captures the enduring spirit of liberty. The Liberty Bell stands proud. This isn't a credit line they can shut off, it's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future.
Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference.
This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom.
All right, I've copied the live chats into a comment here so that they will be permanent with this video, because as we know, when the live stream is over, the live chats just kind of vaporize. So there we have that. Great deal. All right, folks, and as a reminder, these videos that I share with you are videos that come directly from the producers that created them. I have the link to the videos as well as the link to the producers' channels right here in the description box. And these videos that I shared with you tonight are videos that I have posted on Murtick.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos, information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media, information you can rely on. I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately I just don't have the time to do so, and that's why I put together my daily news wrap-up. Here's the playlist for that, as I promised you. I'll have Wendy Bell in there, finish her video, Dan Bongino, X22 Report, We the People News, SGT Report, On the Fringe, Black Conservative Perspective. I have 18 videos, it says, in here, and about 10 or 11 hours worth of great information. So go ahead and give me a few minutes to get this set up in Rumble Studio. So take a break, grab a donut and a cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink, or a beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll get this going. It'll last all night. You can turn it on and go to bed, and if you wake up, you can catch some more news. All right? So I do want to thank you for being here with me this evening. Hopefully, I will get to see you again later, and may God bless.